Welcome to Dungeon Damsels, everybody. This is our spooky episode. We're doing a 5e multi-shot of 3 episodes consisting of an underwater campaign with a spooky element. In a homebrew world, let's go around and introduce ourselves. My name is Tiffany, I'm the GM. Michael.
That's it? So ominous. Should I say my character or?
Yeah, just don't say just say who you are, but don't describe her yet because you'll describe it in video.
Should I say my class? Sure.
Yeah, say
right, sure,
your name, your character's name, and your character's class.
All right, sure.
Hey guys, I'm Michael at RoboSardi, and tonight I will be taking the role as Velaryn, the merfolk cleric of Lucky. But we'll go into that later.
Next up, we have Serena.
Hello everyone, my name is Serena at Pixie Apocalypse, and I will be playing the role of Sonom Hushinsa. So, yeah.
Nice. And
Loving the
Kristen.
name. How do you say the last name again? Hushinsa?
Hushinsa.
Love it.
Hushinsa. It's like the sigh of the ocean.
Aww.
And then she goes,
Cool.
off, you know.
Kristen.
Oh, yes. I'm Kristen, hello, at Chris LD, and I'm going to play Nosalyn. And I don't need these for her, that's for sure.
Well, without further ado, we'll get started.
Oh my gosh.
Dungeon Damsels presents Dark Waters. Usually our campaign takes place on the continent of Ioneer in the world of Etria. Tonight we will go to the southern end of Ioneer, past its coastlines, past the Rishi Isles, and deep into the vast Sapphire Sea. Here in the cool blue waves lives an isolated community of various merfolk and other aquatic dwellers who pay homage to the great shark deity, Laki. The society is deeply steeped in the coven of Laki, and a collection of witches that have long overseen its people. And recently a militia has formed to assist the coven in protecting the city, or Yanacha, the city of Yanacha. We will start our journey with Velaryn, priestess of Laki. You are at your daily worship, and what does that look like to you?
Oh, it is very simple. We wake up fairly early in the day, as far as you can tell, from beneath the sea. And me and my fellow priestesses will go along the outskirts of the town. We each carry a bag with us with a red mist trail that slowly trails off. And we just grab what seems like chunks of dead fish or dead undersea dwellers, and we spread it across along the outskirts of town to give thanks and to attract the sharks of the depths, because we all know that the sharks of the Sapphire Sea are the servants of Lockheed and also help protect this town. The militia aren't doing their job. Keep ne'er-do-wells and those unwanted out of our haven.
You also have a daily duty that changes throughout each sister. You take turns doing it, basically. But you and your co-worker, Hogar, come and are assigned hearing duty, where you basically take a public forum and address the needs of the people. You've been paired with your fellow sister Hogar. She's someone you've never quite been able to, well, reach. So your presence together is awkward, but manageable. It's like coworker, you're like, okay. She is, however, your superior, not the Coven Mother, of course. But her name is Vasta. The Coven Mother is named Vasta. But Hogar is nonetheless above you. A long slew of merfolk and kuatoas and various other aquatics have lined up for your address. The first comes up. Priestesses, I am Grindy. It's a small aquatic being. You can't remember the name of its species. It's like Samhain or Kutoa. Unless you tell me otherwise. If I say something about your character that you're like, that's not right, then tell me, you know. This one appears to be female. My brother Grudo, he went to the trenches. Hogar hisses next to you. Foolish chum. Why did he do that? Grindy cowers. We are weak and miserable. We have no offerings for Laki. Grudo went to the trenches in search of offerings. That wretch should have offered himself. Not bother us with saving his worthless scaly hide.
I put my hand in front of, okay. Now. Just because some are less fortunate doesn't mean you have to look down at them. They come here beseeching our guidance, our blessing. Come now, tell us more.
Well, he went to the trenches. I told him not to go, but we should figure out something else to do, but he insisted. And I have not seen him since. It's been 3 days. I worry for him. I know that I am weak and dare not go beseech the might of the Coven to search for my brother.
Do you have anything of his? Any personal items?
She offers up this, she searches through her, she has this little bag that's, just seaweed and, old cloth, and she pulls out this rusty spoon.
This is his treasure.
And do you know of any items that he carries on his person? Something that you can describe to me?
He carries,
maybe a close personal apparel? Jewelry?
It's like a trident, but small. And it's 4 prongs. It's about the size of that thing.
and she points to the spoon.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. Well, I look at the line that's building up, right? I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people who are looking towards the Coven.
Yeah.
I turn towards Hogar and I'm like, well, you as my superior, I'll let you handle the rest of these. I will accompany this poor child and cast a ritual to help find her brother. It shouldn't take long. I think we only need one sister for the job. Unless you think you need help, as I lean in close to Hogar.
Hogar, you see, you do that, you lock eyes, and there's that mean girl stare between the two of you. Carry on.
I tilt my head just slightly, and I'm just like, thank you.
Anything to bring might to Lucky.
Come, child.
And Grundy.
But this is basically what. All right, here we go. We go to the outskirts of town, or at least as close to where not Grindy, but her brother. It was Grio. Okay. Yeah. Like as close to it that we can get to where Grio was within a safe distance, of course, that she's comfortable with.
Grandy leads you to the outskirts of town, and like just like you can see the trenches like off in the distance, and she just like points a shaky finger. He went in there.
Do you have the utensil that you told me about?
Yeah, and she lifts it up.
And I basically like as my I should describe Velaryn just a little bit.
Okay.
She is a green merfolk, so like green and yellow scales. Her hair flows as like a fin that's like tied up into like a ponytail that just like slightly drifts throughout the sea. She is adorned in a lot of kind of ceremonial kind of like robes and like armor that's like kind of like small seashells that are kind of intertwined.
Okay, so she has like a kind of like a net that she like wove things into, and that holds stuff together. Yeah.
So a bunch of seashells, and as she walks, she has this this wooden oar that's like long sunken, like kind of like wood rotten, and it's just like has like a bunch of barnacle and seaweed on it, and she like and as she like puts it behind her, she gestures towards this small shark tooth earring that hangs off of her fins on the side of her head, and she takes the utensil that Grendy handed her, closes her eye, rubs the shark tooth earring. She's like, "Oh, where is your brother? Let's see if we can find him. Laki, be my eyes and search the seas." As I cast locate object, as I'm looking for his fork.
Okay.
His mighty trident.
You follow the trenches, like around like the edges. Like he came. It appears like he came to it and then basically like skirted the edges for a while, and then you see the this little glinting silver in under these. There's basically like in the trenches all these like little nooks and crannies and holes, and you reach into one and pull out the fork. And
no brother.
You don't find him, but you look around and see. You follow it, and you see. You can like smell the faint scent of blood and water. So you swim around, and you come to this another opening that you follow it to like this rock, and you push it aside, and there's this little just tiny cavern in there, and inside you find a wounded Kuatoa in there, and he's it appears that he was wounded and then hid himself in this little cave and plugged it up with a rock. So he's been found. And
Come, child. All is safe now.
It was terrible. The great sea serpent.
Right. Slow down. You should at least be happy that Laki's will has allowed you to live.
Yes, glory to Laki. Makes a little triangle, like, but it goes down, like in the shape of a shark tooth.
I like that. Hold on. as I am going to, seeing that he's injured, is it like his arm, his leg, or?
It's his leg.
Yeah.
Like his upper thigh.
I
took a pretty bad gash.
Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, he's a Katoa, so I imagine he's pretty small. So I kind of swim a little bit down, caress his little fish leg, and just like, let Lucky's will manifest as I cast Cure Wounds.
And do you want to describe the shark magic? Or do you want me to describe the shark magic?
Sure. Yeah, basically I hold very closely the shark tooth, and and like the wounds start to like just glow green? Sure, green.
Green would be good. Green good. Yeah, green lights. Okay, he's healed. And then you see Brendy poke her head out, and she comes in. She's like, "Brother,
Oh, Brendy. You came. You came for me. Of course I did, brother.
come. We will settle the coven. That way we will repay the many debts that we have to the Great Lucky." And then Bruno bows to you and says, "Priestess." And then they leave.
Grudo, if you don't mind, tell me about this sea serpent. If it wishes to oppose the will of Laki, I very much should. The coven should know of it.
Yeah.
Or the militia.
You see him. You see his eyes like, kind of like, darken, just, and they're big, like, bulbous eyes, and it just came swiftly, like a shadow of death. I saw it tear asunder the surface dweller vessels. You see, it points up, and you can probably like a boat or a ship or something.
Mm-hmm.
Broken them apart like weak seaweed. Tossed them to the seas. Devoured them whole. I was caught in the ruckus and fled. And the debris fell and entrapped me.
Why, that is quite a ghastly story. Hopefully, this serpent only wishes harm upon the surface and not the denizens of below.
And he's like, he goes to leave, but then he turns and says to you, "There's one more thing.
Yes, child?
There's something strange about the trenches. The animals aren't right." And he swims off. Then we will turn to, now we'll go to Nosalyn. Kristen, describe Nosalyn.
That's my turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so Nosalyn, she is a Triton. She has silvery, like very, very pale blue, very, very pale, more like silver skin. She has like yellow eyes, and her hair's like a dark blue, but when it hits the light, there's like a green little shine to it. And she has a very square jaw, a scar up her lip right this, and she's full of muscle, even though she's like, she's doing her best.
Short but sturdy.
And, yeah, so do I just start?
I'll do a little intro. Nosalyn
Yeah.
is on the outskirts of Yanacha, gazing into the distance That was once her held post of many, many years, perhaps even a century. Now we'll go into your memory.
Sure thing. Well, in Nosalyn's position, she's always down there, deep in the trench to fulfill her duty to guard the elemental plane between plane of water and
I should clarify this because I know people will get lost. So there are two things. There's the rift and there's the trenches. And you'll find out what those are. You guarded the rift.
I'm elsewhere.
That's
Alright, yes, I'm by the rift, which is just outside of the city there. And I have been guarding it for so many years at this point, so I'm used to cold. I'm used to quiet. But recently it has been colder and quieter, and things have just not been going as they should. And this is very concerning for Nosalyn. And she had a fellow guardsman with her named Kenneth, and so Kenneth was with her on the post as well. And together they saw the rift that they protected between the planes, and there's just something wrong, as if like the water itself is just kind of like vibrating a little bit. And the rift that we see, there's like a bit of like almost a bit of light because of the power that's on the other side. It seems to just kind of stretch and track and grow bit by bit. And when the thing you're supposed to guard is starting to break, you get a little concerned. So Nosalyn, the way that she gets concerned is that she gets even more stony-faced, and just like, this needs to change, and kind of gets riled up, even though it's like all like underneath the surface. But Kenneth is a bit more, less like that. And so, Kenneth was gone. Kenneth left to go figure out if there's something to do while she kept her eye on the rift because she wanted to make sure things would stay. And the thing is, Kenneth never came back. And so, like I said, Nosalyn is used to the cold. Nosalyn is used to the quiet. But with this happening, and Kenneth not returning, she just got too worried, and she actually left her post just for a short while to try and like check the waters, check beyond it. And it just maybe like just the hope that maybe now Kenneth will return. It's been like a few days for Nosalyn before she got too anxious to check. But when she returned, tried to go back to her post, he would swim and she would swim. And she would swim and she would swim, and she would get no closer. He would get no... They would just get farther and farther away, even as she moved towards it. And so, in all her emotive glory, she frowned even deeper and kept going because she does not know how to give up. That's another problem, of course. And at some point, she just got so tired, and so Tritons can speak to aquatic animals, so maybe she found like a sea lion floating by, and just like, well, I don't know what she would say to it. Maybe she would go tell whoever is in charge of Nosalyn, one of her superiors, probably ask the sea lion to go like deliver a message and go bring the attention to the rift that's going on, while she turns back and tries to figure out where else she can go.
Mm-hmm.
And in her single-minded effort, she pops up outside the city that I don't think she's ever been to before.
No,
she's not familiar with it, but she's just like, alright, this is the first place I've seen. I need to find someone. So she goes straight there.
Oh, yeah, so you go to Yanacha, and
okay.
There's this strange rock structure that goes all the way up to the surface. And there's like a door on it. Like, there are other kind of like just doors or almost windows like built into the rock around, but this is like in the middle of town. So you're like, well, I mean, people are probably going to be in this thing. So you go in there and you find Kenneth, your fellow guard, and he's aged a couple of years, even though you're pretty sure it's only been like a month. And you see him like greet this this female.
Are we going to... Oh, okay.
So,
I see him. All right, I get it.
and over time, it's been a couple of days since then, but you have since found out that Kynnis has been here for the past couple years. He's married, he has children, he has a bar. and he also cannot get back to the rift. He had the same problem you did. He would try to close the distance and could never make any ground. And you have also met up with our other PCs and have had a few shenanigans with them at this point, but today, after gazing at the rift, frustrated, you turn back and go in real time to Kinney's Cove. And with a weight in your heart, you go to town and head towards Kinney's Cove. The bar is located within a vertical rock that extends up towards the surface. You push aside the door and see the usual old sea turtle that has half asleep in the corner and a few other regulars at the back, munching on a set of, like, jellies. Here, the way they consume alcohol is they have, like, little jelly beads that just pop in.
Like boba tea.
Yeah, like boba, but alcohol. You also know that there's also, like, if you swim up, you can get to, like, what they call the air room, and then you can, like, just have normal liquid drinks. You see Kenny talking to his wife, whose name is Yesta. She's a green merfolk with a long flowing tail and various color-coded scales that glimmer. She's pretty by merfolk standards, but you always thought Kenny could do better than that. You hear Yesta say, "Whatever it is, I don't like it." She looks at their gaggle of children who are playing a form of freeze tag, and she lowers her voice. "You know how cutthroat curious they are." Kenny puts away a series of bowls and cutlery. "All right, I'll talk to the coven about it." Hey, now. He waves you down, pulls up a sphere of gelatin jars and offers it to you. Unless you want to hit the air room, get the liquid stuff.
Nosalyn just kind of stares at what Kenneth offered her and just like, "I do not have any need of this right now." She kind of just like puts a finger to her forehead and holds it there, but beyond that, she has like no other emotion besides a scowl on her face.
A scowl. He's you see him like shrug and just pop one and then like slide it down. Well, did you hear the news? What's going around town? I guess not. Well, a couple of boys, Tamlin and Feda, they usually hang out in that corner over there. They're doing some hunting and I saw this strange metal contraption. I swear it was larger than a whale. It's been seen by the trenches and they swam off. Honestly, I think it's the jellies hitting them too hard, but they probably got intoxicated, exaggerated. A little interesting.
Seems they're very free with their indulgences here.
So how's the job search going?
Nosalyn takes in a deep breath and lets it go in a way that definitely tells you she does not want to talk about it.
Alright.
And she says, "Well, all I know is I have this one job, and I can't do it, and I can't." She can't let go, but she does not want to finish her sentence.
Alright, look, I know you're coming from the rift. You gotta let it go. It's just out of our hands.
Nosalyn I don't know. I don't know if she's like lean. Is there like a table she's leaning?
Yeah, there's a bar. There's like a bar. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe she has like her hand on the table and she just kind of like closes her fist and gives a little beat. And she hits the table.
Thumps the table.
She bonks the table. Like, how can I let this go?
All right.
Years have passed. I don't. There's just so much she doesn't really understand right now, and so, how long would you say she's been in Yanacha?
Oh, it hasn't been long. It's been like less than a month.
Okay, about a month. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
makes sense to her right there. All right, so it's been a month, and like, if a month has passed here, how long has passed? How are we sure that the rift that is the time is being hooked up? What does this mean? We can't just stay here and, well, I can't. But she keeps a glance towards his family and sees the life that he's made for himself here, and is still feeling kind of, well.
Yeah, she feels like
emotions that she cannot process.
Well, I mean, I've had a couple of years here. But I'll tell you what, I'll talk to the Coven and see if they at least got freelance work for you. If anyone can figure out what's going on, you know, maybe they can. I've seen him do some crazy stuff with that Loki magic.
Nosalyn just kind of like lets loose her pan and just kind of like sits it on the table. She kind of wants to go back to the rift. But she wants to go back and stare at it some more. And hopefully
you see him like slide up some, basically like their form of pretzels. I guess it would be like kelp, or I don't know. I guess it's kelp.
Yeah, it'd be a little kelp twist.
And he's like, at least eat something. Sheesh, kid.
I don't know how I feel about you calling me kid. She takes the little case and pops it into her.
So unless you have any more RP you want to do, we'll go to Serena.
I'm good.
Okay. So now we go to Sonom. And we just open with seeing you above surface on a glittering sand beach, sitting by the waves. And you take it away. Describes your character first. Yeah.
So Sonom is an 8 foot tall, 200 and something, almost edging on 300, like pretty much an underwater monster beast. She is there's a word for it. And she's an XLN. I think she's blue. Yeah, she's blue. And she's got some scars. She has like big head fins that sort of have these little tapering parts that look like they've had little chunks taken out of them over time. You know, it's occupational hazard, no big deal. Big, strong lady. And it's kind of the visage is, so she doesn't look like a big, strong lady right now, and so she sort of just knees to her chest, sitting and looking out at the water and just contemplating and reflecting. And she sighs. She's just sort of moping on the beach.
And a memory comes back to you as you sit and kind of just, you have this a conch shell in your hand that you're just handling and tracing the edges of. I can go.
One of the smaller ones, and as she looks at it, she recalls a nicer time. I'm just gonna go ahead and read from here. So, right. So in her memory, it comes as such: the sand was warm, heat captured from the previous day's scorch and untouched by the water. It insulated her as she dared to walk close enough to the shoreline to view the sunrise. The bioluminescent algae no longer accompanied the surf. retired until the evening tides returned, so all around her it was dim and blue. Sonom at this time wasn't alone. As she burrowed her webbed feet into the bone-white sands, Alaksha found his seat beside her, the shifting sand parting under the joint weight of their mass. He grunts, stands, turns, and toes an offending rock in the direction of the tree line before plopping down again. For a time, they are silent, shy as they often are in the morning wake of their coupling. There were words to describe the treacherous act of fraternization. Utilities, such as them, shouldn't want for more than the taste of victory in battle or the frenzied energy of their kinfolk as they dutifully served their people. There were words for them. None of these words found purchase here. They were warriors, true, but this morning witnessed them as lovers, secret mates whose truth could not be discovered so long as they both remained in the service of their people. Shame should have been their shroud, but as he looked to her, he flashed a smile and he leaned towards her. He eased into her strong shoulder and her knees rested against his one raised leg before she nuzzled her cheek against his nose. A laugh broke the silence. His laugh, crackling and low like the grating coral as it broke from the trench wall. His voice was smooth like the deep ocean, but here on land it was coarse. Sonom hissed in delight as he playfully gnawed at her head fins, gently, sweetly. She craned her neck to snatch the draping fin nearest her chin, and when she caught it between her teeth, he cackled and pushed her, dooming them both to fall back into the sands with succeeding thuds, like staggering heartbeat. Alaksha's claws swiped the fins at her neck harmlessly, but she trilled, gnawing the wrist at the hand that caressed her cheek. They may have carried on in that way, had they not caught the red glow of pre-dawn reflecting off their scales. Happy for only this interruption, they righted themselves and stared off to the horizon. Here, there was no thought of duty, law, or the world around. Like driftwood peeking briefly above the tumultuous ocean surface, they had captured a brief snatch of air. A home. Her arm circled his waist and his draped her shoulders. Tomorrow, they would be as they were, comrades with a very precious secret. The sun had triumphantly clawed its way up from the waves, and soon the island was awash in a blanket of golden red. They didn't need to report for a few hours, but the trip back would take them time. They had been overcautious, and now they would have to pay for that with a very long journey back. Sonom perused the surf and shoreline as Alaksha gathered his effects, admiring the clear waters and smooth sand of this perfectly untouched paradise, the one she sat on now. She paused when she saw a glimmer of orange and gold. Narrowing her eyes, she waded into the ocean and found a small shell, beautiful, with sharper points along its edge, reminiscent of a crown or the distant mountains. She turned the tiny thing in her large hands, so delicate and pretty. She turned when she heard him sloshing towards her. Excitement made his step sound much like a charge. "You won't believe what I mistook for a rock this morning." In his hand, there was another small conch, red and orange like their most recent sunrise. Almost a perfect twin to the one in her hands, but only in shape, not color. Alaksha's expression hardened, a low note indicating his slight displeasure. Obviously, he had hoped to contribute to Sonom's growing collection of land-faring souvenirs. "I see you, found one already." He held the shell aloft, not yet casting it aside as he leaned to look at the one in her hands. Sonom held it out to him, and he offered a toothy grin. "Beautiful, that one. 'Tis gold like your eyes." He held his out to compare, and Sonom smiled fondly at his hand. "The spines are like your lips." An odd statement. Sonom had an uncouth method of admiration and flirtation, but not one completely lost on Alaksha. He looked again and chuckled in agreement, understanding her meaning immediately. How the red-spined conch could remind her of Alaksha's red-dappled scales, the slash of red in his deep blue face. They were silent for a spell, and he straightened, standing toe-to-toe with her. "Maybe I shall keep a souvenir of our time as well." He looked to his hand, looking back at hers before rolling the little conch between his fingers. "How about an exchange?" Sonom suggested, her grin toothy and bright. Clearly, they liked the other's find more, and maybe there was something more to it. Something they couldn't quite say, not as they were. A gift? His suggestion had weight, one her response could confirm or deny. Yes. The waves washed past their knees as they closed in, holding one another for a time that in the future would feel one day far too brief. They exchanged their gifts in a voice soft enough to be lost in the sea breeze. He said, "It will be with me always." Sonom's mutual promise was carried away with the wind, but he crowed as if he'd heard her, and they both cackled, scaring a flock of seabirds and colliding into one another before playfully falling into the surf. Sonom somberly sort of closes her fingers around the conch in her hand and sighs.
In real time. Out of memory.
Yeah.
And do you want to go to the other memory? Yeah, you can.
Sonom reflects on this memory, and she kind of is a lot happier with this one, but as she sort of looks over the spiny conch in her hand, she remembers very sadly how it was at some point lost to her, and then of a loss as well. So she reflects back on the rift. The rift is a place of non-silence, where the depths and the marine quality of sound that could be stifled by the sheer amount of pressure, there in the depths was a lull to it that feels natural, but the rift possessed a kind of sound that broke that lull, where if it were a sound, it would likely most be comparable to fine lace dragging over cracked glass. It was like a great strange creature had affixed itself to the invisible web that grew incrementally. How things could sift through the fine breakage was still a source of great interest and concern, especially to people like her who were charged with protecting their people. Together, the squad of them drifted through the endless blue around it. The flicker of greens, blues, reds glimmered as fins danced along the current, cut by their small spool, a shimmering kaleidoscope offset by the eerie warped refraction projected by the rift. The plan was simple. They were to move along and seek out anything that made its way through and report any findings, and continue if nothing had gathered at the seam. Sonom found herself staring at the great thing at that point, silent, pondering on the words of her friend's claim that it was expanding, but how much more would it expand? What more could pass through? What would happen should it reach close enough to home to touch it? For a time, she just sort of sat there with her thoughts, and it was a moment before she felt the soft drag of a long fin along her back. Somewhere above, she could spot Alaksha's looming shadow as he drifted above, like great shimmering storm clouds, scales, armor, weaponry glinting like the thread of lightning in an expansive dart. He glanced down, his eyes catching hers, fins waving to greet her subtly. 4 others loomed above his head at that time, drifting in a similar direction along the rift. Sonom's fins waved. As his had, both knew better than to grin. He turned and he swam, allowing the light to catch the hint of orange shell at his neck. In response to his secret flirtation, Sonom's shoulders rolled back and a lance of red conch spines peeked out through the bushel of green rock over her chest. His jaw tightened around the desire to smile, but they both broke eye contact before the urge sort of overtook them. And like that, the patrol had continued. The 6 of them returned back to the larger portion of their party, but as the lot of them proceeded, a mute crinkling sensation filled the atmosphere, a peculiar fold in sound that changed the pressure, and the energy in the water felt lighter, somehow thinner, lesser. A trilling alarm from one of their comrades behind them started it, and then more came from above. When Sonom turned back, she noticed that their contingent had thinned, and when she looked forward, there were posts that were missing their members as well. It was only when the shadow above her gave way to light that she knew something had happened, and when she looked up, all she could see was blue, and the distant sky looming miles above. Disappeared. A whole third of their squadron faded away like nothing, without a sound or so much as a second glance. And just like that, Alaksha was gone. And thinking on that, she couldn't quite recall any of the rest of that particular search because the distress was a lot to reflect on. So as that memory surfaces, she just stands with a little bit of a huff and just sort of tromps around a little bit to sort of get the blood flowing and not fixate on the sad feelings. Back in present time.
Present time.
Maybe like snap or clap or something. I thought that was a poetry reading.
Yeah.
Sorry if it was long.
No, but you got the detail, honey.
Would you say that Sonom has this like poetic side to her? Like this is how she like sees the world, and she just like chooses to not like speak that way.
She doesn't know how to articulate her thoughts. They come very vividly, and one of the things that sort of mark her as a character is she will remember you when you are gone. It doesn't matter if you were friends for a moment or for a few minutes or if you ended on bad terms. She remembers all the people who leave her life in a very vivid and poetic way, but she doesn't know how to articulate that. The way she articulates is a little more creepy and uncouth, so a lot of it is lost in translation, but that's sort of the lens that she does view the world through.
Okay.
An artist's heart in a big strong room.
big strong lady.
Big strong room.
So you decide to go back to Yanacha, the town, and you have to pass by the rift thing that Nosalyn talks about.
Mm-hmm.
And you swim, and you realize that you're facing the island. That's weird. So you swim again, and this time you swim over coral reef that lay between the rift and the island and pause and notice that something seems off about this reef, something different, and you swim to the reef and look around. And what's usually a bustling and brimming ecosystem is disturbingly vacant. An anemone sways eerily in the empty halls of the coral reef. You keep expecting to see a fish swim by, or a crab emerge from the sand, or lucky below, even a cuttlefish, something. You pause, and round a corner, and look and see vacancy. There was a reef here before. It's no longer there. You look behind you, and the reef was there. It's like someone took a knife and like cut the reef away, but it's not like a straight cut. It comes off in like jagged angles, but all of those individual jagged angles are clean. And you run your hand across this reef and are just disturbed at how finite this cut is. You're not, it's almost random, but there's this cleanness to it that feels odd.
It's too clean of a pattern, but it's a pattern of some kind that
it is a random pattern, but it's like it's a clean cut.
Precise.
It's precise. Yeah. You glance towards the rift and see just it's with you. What people see when they look at the rift is they see a pair of like old pillars from some decrepit temple a long time ago, and then just this like sliver of space that you can look through that little sliver and just see like this void, and it's uncomfortable to look at up close. Like seeing it from far away, it just seems like this kind of like almost purple streak, but
up close though, it's like no.
No. So after that, you head back towards town, and the three of you are now at Kinney's. Yeah, Kinney's Cove. So the three of you are now together.
Oh, before I left the coral, could I have broken off a few trines of it so I could bring it to Yeah. So look at the two of you, and like first thing I do if we are sitting at a table, just plops it down, and then sort of belatedly looks at the two of you. Hello. They're clean. What's wrong?
Are you guys in the air room or in the underwater bar? They're both bar. It's the same bar. It's just like upper floor, bottom floor.
We're probably in the underwater one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most comfortable.
So the coral wants to float and they just push it back down. Just stop that.
Oh, my horse, Sonom. It's good to have you. What did you discover on the surface besides constantly just taking the coral?
Lower it back down.
So they're all taking turns putting it back on the table.
Mm-hmm.
They're broken. It's gone. There's reef, but it's not there anymore. There is this, but it's not there. It was taken. Very clean.
It's not someone took the coral, took the reef.
By the rift.
How is it possible that a whole reef has been taken? Nosalyn said this in a way that it sounds like she doesn't believe Sonom. That she's more like, what is happening? Really? She's like, yeah.
Sonom just sort of like picks it up and sort of like just points to the clean edge.
Fine. Fine. Precise. Not natural.
And then she turns it around to the broken side.
Natural breakage.
Nosalyn will go ahead and just take it and hold it in her hands and like just look at it.
Can I look at it as well?
Sure. Yes.
We'll hold it together between us.
The one is floating away.
Yep. Would I be able to make a nature check?
Yeah, you can make a
Just
nature
kind of
check.
discern if there's any type of natural phenomenon that would make this clean cut or anything like that.
Okay, yeah. Can definitely do that. If anyone else wants to do some kind of check to investigate, not necessarily investigation check, but anything that... If you want to roll something, let me know.
I think anything I roll will be helpful.
Can I roll a survival check?
Sure.
That's a 23.
Ooh. Nice.
Okay, yeah, so you take it and hold it between your, like, finely manicured fingernails, unless Velaryn, not Velaryn, Velaryn doesn't have that.
Oh, of course I do.
And,
All in the name of Blackwood.
must be fabulous. And you turn it in your hands and run your fingers across, like, the point where the cut isn't the unnatural cut. And you, like, run it along the circumference of the cut. And you, like, expect the edges to, at least the edges to be uneven, because, like, usually with something like coral, it's almost like a rock. It's kind of porous. It will break unevenly, even with a really sharp object. Just, like, on the edges. But this is just a clean cut. And when you look at it, like, it's like there were two different knives coming at different angles to cut it. And you're just utterly baffled. Like, nothing in nature has the ability to do this, to your knowledge.
This was near the rift.
Mm-hmm. Neighboring coral was dying too. Nothing's alive there.
Just sort of frowns. Not even pufferfish.
Aww.
They're usually really curious and they come on up to you.
Yeah, and I put my hand on your shoulder and I'm like, oh, they're there. I'm sure the pufferfish are just fine. Lucky protects all that dwells in you.
And
Can you be sure? That's what Nosalyn asked while still looking at the coral. Just like, totally cut up.
yeah, you're engrossed by this coral. As that happens, like, who is facing the door?
Not me, because I'm facing the coral.
Okay, so
I don't think any of us are facing
Sonom.
sure.
Sonom, you see a denizen of the town that you all know. His name is Finn. And he comes by, he swims in, and he's kind of like this scholar of the town. And he comes in and settles at the bar. And you see him pull out like this wax tablet. He's a sea elf. And he goes and You just see him start scribbling on his wax tablet like he always does. It's not like particularly new to you. And he orders up some of the little bobas and settles down.
Her fins just sort of like do this little wave thing.
Fancy seeing you there.
Oh, hi, Velaryn.
What brings you to our depths and pennies?
Oh, I came here for dinner. I'm not a really great cook. And he holds up he like taps this like tablet that he's working on. He's like, and the coven asked me to look over these calculations. Apparently they want to make a new temple. I mean, someone's got to do the dimensions.
Oh, come, let me take a look too. It is part of my responsibility, and I get like really close to Finn.
Sure. Here you go. He hands you the tablet. Oh, sorry. He like drops it. There's like a little like it's like it's a pencil basically. But you like you use it to make grooves in the wax.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like almost drops that, and he's like, oh, here you go.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm not gonna make any notes for you. I just want to see your findings. As it is, as I am also part of the coven. I mean, maybe I will be able to help. Maybe Locky can lend his blessing.
Sure. What he from the outside surface you see this like nervous babbling guy, and the look in his eyes is, I'm not sure where she's going with this. Sure. What you have in mind? I mean, I didn't know you were scholarly, so I mean, not that you couldn't be. I just never thought of you in that way. I mean, I should think of you that way.
I look down at him. It's like, oh, come now. I leave the scholarly to you. Let's just say I'm more curious.
Oh, well, this equation is, he like explains like, this is for like the circumference of the new temple hole. Yeah.
Can I do an insight check on Finn?
Yeah.
That probably doesn't count, huh? I'm just trying to figure out if I can ask him about the coral. Or maybe I should just straight up ask him about the coral.
You can... I will tell you that Finn is generally approachable. So, like, okay. and you've seen people ask him questions about things, and he does get excited in answering those questions, so...
Okay. Got it. Alright. Okay, hold on. Let me quick look at my sheet. I want to see if I can... Okay.
So,
well, not really.
Finn shows you the equation he used for the circumference of the dome. That's the right word. And go on, Kristen.
Alright, thank you. Right, so as Velaryn and Finn are talking, Nosalyn is just gonna, lead whatever table. It's hard to like picture like what movement's going on here. But she's just gonna come up straight to Finn.
Yeah, there are tables.
Hold the coral like to him, like, sorry to bother you, in a way that she's obviously not sorry to bother him at all.
Yeah, you go right between them.
Yeah. Have you seen anything like this before, Finn?
Oh, he looks at, you mean coral? Oh.
Not just the coral. See the cut? Sonom found it earlier. We're trying to figure out what's going on.
He reaches out and looks at it. Wow, what? You see him like pull out some like a little, like, it's basically like a spyglass or some kind of like jeweler's examination eyeglass thing. And he's like, wow, this is a very, very precise cut. I can't even...
Yes, from what I can discern, it's not natural at all.
Oh. No. Definitely not.
Nosalyn basically mentions Sonom's name, and as if summoning a giant rock behind you is this monolith of muscle that just sort of looms uncomfortably, a little uncomfortably over Finn, and just like, it's wrong.
Yeah, like you like breathe down his neck, and he's just this tiny little elf, and he's just like,
Yeah, I imagine he's smaller than all of us.
he is. He is.
How big is he? How big is he?
Oh, but that's why I find him so adorable.
He's like, he's like 5 feet tall. He's not tall.
I'm like his size.
You're at least his size, so that's like
Yeah.
His size.
He's a tiny guy, tiny dude. Yeah, that's definitely not right. Where'd you
Nosalyn is gonna kind of look up at Sonom and kind of give her like a look, saying like, "You do really need to scare him. We need to talk to him and figure out what's going on."
if it's only a look, then Sonom like sort of nods head as if to help, and then puts hand on his shoulder, and it's like, Reef was gone. This was put there. I broke here, but it was gone and broken here.
Oh.
And this is funny because like my hand has like still been like on his like my hand has been like caressing his shoulder.
Yeah, so on one end we have like we have the soft, subtle touch of Velaryn, and then
I'd like to think that
If she
Nosalyn
unbalances him, she does like
brights him.
I'd like to think that Nosalyn's gaze is like so intense, even though she's basically the same height as him. It's just more like,
Yeah, no, he's like shrinking under your gaze. Like he's actually lowered himself, like in his seat, and he's okay. You found it by the reef, like the reef by the rift, or
Reef by the rift. Reef by the
okay, well,
the rift, if you reef.
he's like, okay, let me and he goes and pulls out this different wax tablet from his pack. He says, I've actually been doing some calculations, and I think the rift is expanding. I think your hypothesis was right, Nosalyn. I think this rift is causing discrepancies in time space, and I think that's what happened to that platoon that went missing. And he holds up the coral, and I think it's moving.
I couldn't hear you, Tiffany.
Oh.
Half of the sentence.
I think that's what happened to the platoon. They got caught up in this time displacement. This when I go in there, I throw things there, and just the laws of physics and time and space. They like the math doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I hold up the coral and I'm just like, so the rift did this.
Yes, on a very basic level, yes. Yes.
And so much probably to his comfort, Sonom sort of like goes to his side a little bit on the other side of the other two and sort of just looks at the wax tablet. And as he explains this, Sonom just sort of like points to if he's written rift anywhere, she just sort of taps on it. Can we get Reef back? And there's sort of like a softness when she says it that's sort of like indicative that there might be something else.
Oh.
Well, that would depend. I mean, according to maybe. I don't know. We don't know enough about time space. We theorize that matter can't actually be destroyed, that it just gets moved somewhere else. And he goes on this long-winded explanation.
Sonom looks directly at you, Nosalyn, and just stares at you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Kristen has a question. Okay, so how much does Nosalyn know about how the rift would work? Like, would she have like some sort of insider knowledge because she's been guarding it for so long?
You know that the rift is in fact a rift in time space. It goes somewhere else.
Okay.
It goes to.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You know that when people go in, they typically don't come out. They could, you don't know, but no one's really ever come back out of it.
Got it. Okay, so I'm just making sure no one else goes into it.
Yeah, because it's this vast unknown, and like you've spent time by it, and like you know, and you've looked into it. And I sent you a cool line that I feel proud of myself for making, but like when you look into it, like your own mortality like recoils at it because it can't fathom the depths of that is beyond the rift.
That's so cool. Yeah, I see Sonom like kind of like shrink a little bit when she talks about the coral. And I'm like, Sonom, don't worry, I told you, the pufferfish will be fine. Having no clue what pufferfish she is probably like worried about. And it's like, I will personally send a blessing myself, Lucky, to look over these poor pufferfish.
Like her eyes are just like these little yellow lights and like the dark of her eye, of like the dark of her brow. And so when she looks at you, it's just like blink, blink. Right, pufferfish. Right.
And Finn notices you're like, I imagine that you guys have some sort of indicator for your platoons. So it can be like a symbol or a number. And we'll just say that you were platoon number 6.
Yeah.
And he notices that and he's like, you were in platoon 6?
Then she looks down at him and is just like,
And like there's just I'm not sure, I don't know how well your Sonom is at insight, but I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. But like Finn connects that she wants her friends back, and it's not the pufferfish. I see. And
she does this little like, so it's probably the only uncomfortable gesture he's probably seen her do. She does that little like shoulder shifting thing, like, oh yeah, yeah, baseball,
baseball,
yeah, baseball.
So he I'll work on my calculations again.
Repeat that one more time. Sorry.
I'll work on the calculations again. Maybe I can, after I finish this, of course, and maybe the Coven can figure out something. Velaryn, what do you think?
I mean, this sounds very serious. You know, there's been a lot of weird happenings around our town. It might be related to the reptile plague. So I will go to the Coven and beseech them about this.
Okay.
Nosalyn will go too. I don't think she even needs to say anything. She'll just be like, alright. She gets up and gets ready to leave right now.
Alright, so the three of you go to the Temple of Valaki, which is pretty decrepit at this point. It's several centuries old. So, like, the fact that Finn's like, I'm doing calculations to like, do a remodel is checks. And Velaryn, you're a priestess. You can get an audience pretty easily with the Coven Mother.
Yeah. I see, like, Nosalyn, like, ahead of me, like, just, like, barreling forward. I'm like, Nosalyn, dear, please, let me take the lead. The mother probably needs to hear it from me.
And
but don't worry, we will get answers. Believe me.
Nosalyn slows down finally, because she just... I can't think of it. But she slows down and she looks at Velaryn, and she's like, it's not you that I don't believe. I can't keep waiting around for no answer at all. I need to find it. So if you believe that this will be it, she silently gestures her hand forward, but she will be like right in stride with Velaryn. She's not gonna.
all right.
Sonom's just this towering like monolith behind both of them. Sorry, private party.
The bouncer.
So
yeah,
you guys.
I'm good. Try to get an audience with the Coven Mother.
Yeah, I mean, you actually like catch her in the hallway talking to Hogar. And the Coven Mother is this. She's quite a sight. She's very old and matronly and tall. She's a merfolk that has she's just grown older more and more as kind of like a koi fish. They just get bigger, so she's just kind of big. And her scales have turned this eerie kind of bone white, and she looks at your group, and you see her eyes meet each and every one of you silently, and then she says, "You'll have to thank Kinnis for this honor to serve the great Lucky. It has come to my attention through Hogard that many complaints that a strange vessel has been spotted in the trenches." She eyes Velaryn.
I as soon as she eyes me, I do a very deep bow.
Your Velaryn, your loyalty to Lucky has been acceptable, but a little lacking. Use this to prove your zeal. Lieutenant Sonom, you'll protect Velaryn on this mission.
Repeat that last part.
It's really hard to hear you, Tiffany. I don't know why.
Maybe-
Is that better?
Yes.
Is that better?
I
Christy?
think so.
Oh, I don't think your mic is picking up that one. Because I think it's picking up. Whenever you're talking, it's picking up from my mic. That is what they're hearing.
Alright, let's try that. Maybe I didn't.
Intermission.
How's that?
I'll try one more time.
How's that?
Yeah,
There we
Michael's
go.
right.
There we go.
Michael's right, yeah.
I didn't turn it on.
Ah!
Woo!
I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, my internet is really inconsistent. It is hearing everyone, but Tiffany is just not having it.
Yeah! Alright, so now it's on. How's that? Is that better? Okay.
I
Great.
think so. We'll let you know if there's any other problems.
Okay. Use this to prove your zeal. Lieutenant Sonom, you are to protect Velaryn. Do not disappoint me. She goes and floats over to Nosalyn. Nosalyn, it's come to my attention that you are in need of a job. And she snaps her fingers. She's like, bring Finn. I'm sure he's lurking about somewhere. And Finn kind of comes out and waves. You'll protect Finn. Your mission is to go to the trenches and retrieve this strange vessel. I want it.
All I heard was go to the rift and retrieve something, and then
The strange vessel.
The vessel.
Why can't I hear it? So strange. Alright, so what is it again? Sorry.
Go to the trenches and retrieve the vessel.
If it
Again,
is-
I'm sorry. The what?
The vessel?
The big metal vessel.
The big metal vessel. Okay, I don't know why I can't hear it. I'm sorry about making you repeat yourself. Okay, big metal vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do a very deep bow, and I'm just like, if it is Loki's will, then it will be done, mother.
Okay.
And Sonom, at any given notion that she's looking at her, will incline her head, yes.
Nosalyn, she very much holds the gaze of the matron lady, and she was just the tightest little nod, alright, I guess I'll do this. But she's expecting, some change in return. Not actual change, but
Yeah.
something to be different.
You will of course be compensated for your service.
How will I be compensated? How do I address her? Milady?
Ma'am?
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 Ma'am, how will I be compensated? Will you at last find me some way of how we can... I don't know how to phrase this. I don't know why I'm bad with words today.
You desire us
She wants
to...
more than money. If she wants more than money, that's all.
She's like, you desire to return to this rift. Upon
Desire
your...
for the rift to be normal again.
And she you see this flicker of annoyance, and she's just like, it's hard. Okay, you will get what you are given. And then she just leaves. She just leaves.
Yeah. As she as she turns and leaves, like as soon as she like kind of turns like the corner, like my eyes and my nose just kind of sneers, and I just like kind of curse in Infernal and just.
Yeah, poor little Finn's just like. So
Sonom looks at him and it's like, oh, it's good to see you again.
I guess we're going to the trenches. Oh boy.
Oh, don't worry. As I like massage his shoulders, we're gonna take great care of you, and we'll have Rocky to look after us.
Finn looks so confused. He's just like, I'm. Like, he can't register that you're, like, touching him at all, period, and then you're giving him a massage, so it's just like, what's happening? I don't understand. Don't hurt me.
What's happening?
What's happening?
You're so tall.
So, next we'll cut to the trenches. So, we'll do a little bit of a scene change. A ghastly sight lies before you. The trenches spew of hot gases and bones lay along the ground in haphazard piles. Skulls picked clean by fish lurk in the sand below you, and the ever-present sense of not being alone looms in the water. Suddenly, you're all struck by a very sharp headache. You'll groan, and as soon as it came, the sensation is gone.